Hey Survivor, welcome to episode 183 of the Vibrant Survivor podcast. One of the hardest parts of narcissistic abuse isn't just the pain of it, it's realizing how deeply manipulated you were. And we're going to talk about this. But first, let's self-regulate with a 448 breathing exercise, if you'd like. And I invite you to uncross your legs, speaking to myself here. Maybe take your shoes off if that's available to you. Plant your feet on the ground or floor. Get grounded in your chair. Roll your shoulders back a little bit. And we'll inhale for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 8. Ready? Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. What do you notice in your body? Grab your notebook and pen, and let's dig in. Hey Survivor, welcome to the Vibrant Survivor podcast. Do you want to disconnect from a narcissistic or toxic situation and heal? Are you Googling how to identify a narcissist, narcissistic abuse, and boundaries? Are you feeling stressed and lonely while trying to avoid being sucked back in and lied to again? Hey, I'm Lesley. As a busy wife and mom, I fell for the lies and manipulations of narcissists. I wasted my time, talents, and money on users who kept moving the goalposts. I wanted real relationships and business opportunities and to enjoy life with my family. Instead, I struggled with anxiety, panic attacks, and insomnia, and I couldn't trust my body or anybody until I took a holistic approach to healing. In this podcast, you'll find tips for healthy living, trauma healing, and boundaries so that you'll have the freedom, confidence, and inner peace to respond, not react, after narcissistic abuse. Take a deep breath in, let it out slowly, and just relax. This time's for you. I'm just going to say it, Survivor. It sucks feeling played. I have shared with you about the murderer and about the way that I met him and how he drew me in with this fake opportunity with this plant-based TV show and all the things, and just really sold it to me. And opportunity of a lifetime doesn't come along very often, and gotta act now. And on top of that, the narcissistic health coach who approached me at a veg fest, and out of all the people that she approached, I was the one that fell for the banana in the tailpipe, and that went on for like over a year. And it wasn't just me. There were some other people that got played at the same time, and we all got suckered with fake opportunities and the promise of collaboration. And not only that, but how the narcissistic health coach used the murderer's behavior after the murders to keep me in line and to keep me engaged, keep me like trauma bonded. It was just, yuck. Anyway, on top of that, just the emotional manipulation that I experienced from my own grandmother, like for years as a kid growing up. And a lot of this my parents weren't even aware of because it happened during obligatory phone calls that I felt guilt tripped over. And that went on for a long time. My mom was shocked to find out how I was manipulated over the phone by my own grandmother. And she felt really badly about that. She didn't even know. And don't get me started, Survivor, about fake friends, toxic group dynamics, and mean girl behavior, because I have talked about that too, shared about it, experienced it. Can you relate? It's just hard when you pour your heart out, or you're legit engaged, even vested in a relationship that is largely fake, and where you have been duped and you just feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you, and it hurts. So you are not alone. Let's talk about why we feel played. It's like there's this love bombing that takes place where we are showered and flowered and told how awesome we are, and we're the only one that can really help with this project, or we're the key to this really being amazing. And or maybe it's being approached or showered and flowered in the context of a romantic relationship and love bombed in that way. we're just swept off our feet. And then there's like intermittent reinforcement that takes place where, you may, after love bombing, not hear anything for a while, but then get drawn back in again and re-engaged and, rewarded or reached out to where you feel like, oh, okay, we're back on again. And the back and forth and all of that can really do a number. The future faking, dangling those fake opportunities in front of you that get you and keep you interested and engaged and maybe giving more than you should, maybe even keep you from fact checking. And that can really be hard. I've been there. I've shared about my experience with this, but the future faking can even come in the form of maybe the promise of, if you're in a romantic relationship, marriage, or children if you're married and don't have children yet, or buying a home, or moving, or traveling. It could be any number of things, a promotion at work, so it can come even on the job. And that can really feel yucky and really feel disappointing and make you feel stupid or feel played or feel silly, vulnerable, exposed. The manipulation cycles, the love bombing, the devaluation, the discard, the hoovering, all of that can really do a number on your nervous system. And the trauma bonding, it can just, have you feeling like you are just all over the place and just super dysregulated, on top of just feeling duped, played, conned, scammed, manipulated. Speaking of which, there's this shame that can really just consume you after you figure out who and what you're dealing with. Some common thoughts that survivors have, I know I've had them in my life and in my experiences, are things like, how did I miss this? How did I let this person in my life unchecked? I should have known. I should have seen the signs. I feel so stupid. What's wrong with me? How could I let this happen? Just piling on the self-flagellation and just the self-deprecation. Sorry about that. Feeling insecure, doubting yourself. It can even make it hard for you to move forward or to trust again. Trust yourself, trust other people. Here's the deal. Manipulation works because there's truth mixed with deception. Say, for example, in the case of the murderer, the things that were true were big things. And so my brain automatically classified everything else around that as being true. He made a couple of appearances on The Doctors. They've since scrubbed any evidence of that, and rightfully so. But he made a couple of appearances on that show, and we all watch the episodes. That's a really big thing that's true. So when you look at some of the other things that kind of fell in context around that, those things kind of all got lumped into this category of just being true and part of the deal. When in fact there was a lot of deception going on behind the scenes. There were, fake text messages and clips of deals that were supposedly being secured by an entertainment lawyer and all this other kind of stuff that was totally false and fabricated. But in the context of everything that was going on and just all the emotional hoopla around it, it was just accepted as truth and taken at face value. And that's another thing. Oftentimes, we will project our own innocence or our own truthfulness onto the narcissistic or toxic individual and just assume that everything that we're seeing is true and that it's real. And we'll just take what they say and what they're doing at face value, or take what they're saying in particular, presenting to us at face value. and not looking deeper or not doing our due diligence. And so there's a lot of shame that can accompany those things and the revelation that comes out later over time. Another thing to keep in mind is that smart people get manipulated too. I've said this before and I will say it again. You're smart, the narcissist is slick. And smart people get manipulated. I consider myself a smart person. I'm educated. I'm smart. You know how you even tell yourself, like I even said, I'm smart. Like, how could I let this happen? I'm smart. You may be educated. You may have multiple degrees. You may be really good at math or science or whatever. And smart people can be manipulated. It doesn't matter where you went to school. It doesn't matter what your degree is. It doesn't matter how well read you are. Manipulation is psychological. It is not intellectual. There's a difference. And even intelligent people, even emotionally intelligent people, can be vulnerable during various times in their lives. And the narcissistic and toxic individual can sniff that out and work their way in and take full advantage. It could be during a time of grief. Maybe you've suffered a loss, a death in the family, a death of a loved one, a key relationship, a breakup, the job loss. That's something to grieve over. You could be going through a period of loneliness or could have been going through a period of loneliness. I will share that this is one of the things that I think made me more susceptible to the narcissistic, toxic group dynamics and fake friendships, mean girl behavior as a mom with small children, where you are just hungry for adult conversation and interaction, outings, just anything to be around adults. Can you relate? That could be a loneliness period where you may accept things that you wouldn't normally tolerate because it's like, well, okay, at least I'm out, I'm going out, I'm doing girls' nights out, I'm doing fun stuff, I've got some people to hang out with or work out with, and so, you just kind of go with it. Also, you may have experienced trauma, whether it's relational trauma or some other kind of trauma. You may have experienced, say, an accident or some kind of traumatic event in your life, and it doesn't even have to be a one-time thing. You could have been in an abusive relationship and had that trauma, like you could have CPTSD, and that's something that would make you vulnerable. So then someone comes along love bombing and looks like, the knight in shining armor, so to speak, then it might be easy to gravitate towards that. Or like in my case, the narcissistic health coach, made herself available and offered all this fake support and everything in the aftermath of the murders. And of course, I was reeling just from PTSD, of just the shock of it all. And so she was right there to play the friend, pretend to care, and all of that in order to get her needs met. But it was largely fake. And of course, while I was in it, I couldn't see it because I was just completely dysregulated and traumatized. And also, you may be going through a transition period in your life, and that can be a time of vulnerability where maybe you've relocated recently, you've started a new job, you've transitioned from being married for a long period of time to being divorced, or you could have moved to a new neighborhood. Those are things where, say, someone could easily come in, or you could encounter someone during a time of transition where maybe you're more vulnerable or unsure of yourself or really trying to find your footing. That can be a time where you might, get duped, played, taken advantage of. It can take time, but it is completely possible to rebuild self-trust. And here are some practical things that you can incorporate on your healing journey in terms of rebuilding self-trust. One is setting healthy boundaries, minding your property boundaries. If you take the Townsend and Cloud model of your you being, say, your own property and having like boundaries around your property. That's what you're responsible for, is what is on your property. And of course, you want to have a really strong fence around your property. You want to have security. You want to have it gated. You want to have it locked. So having healthy boundaries can really help in terms of rebuilding self-trust, letting your no be no, and standing 10 toes down, or not being so quick to say yes, maybe taking time to reflect, to think, and creating space to be able to really discern whether or not that's in alignment with your values or your lifestyle or whatever the case may be. Discernment, as I mentioned, just really sharpening your discernment. And sometimes, unfortunately, that may come through experience. But you know what? You can also draw from other people's experiences. You may not have had the same experiences that I've had, but hey, you are welcome to use my experiences to help you going forward to be able to better understand and determine who and what you're dealing with before you go all in any situation, regardless of the nature of the relationship. Also, taking time to heal your nervous system. And this can include things like breathing exercises, meditation, time outside, bilateral movement, taking walks in nature, being able to nourish your body with healing foods, whole foods, preferably plant foods, being able to hydrate your body. That's going to help your brain to function better. Even deploying healing modalities that may also help you to regulate your brain and body. Massage, something like Reiki. I did a Reiki drumming session recently that was really amazing. Listening to classical music or meditation or relaxation music, sound healing, sound baths, and then self-forgiveness. I think this is really important one. This is one that often gets neglected. And I think that's one of the hardest areas of forgiveness is self-forgiveness, at least for me. I can write lists and of people that I need to forgive and actively work on that. I think the hardest person for me to forgive oftentimes is myself. And I have completely beaten myself up over not knowing who and what I was dealing with, or getting duped, played, letting the narcissistic or toxic individuals in my life unchecked, not doing my due diligence. And that's not healthy either. So I want to encourage you to really prioritize self-forgiveness, because that can really help propel you forward. I think not being able to forgive yourself can keep you stuck. Also, slowing down, taking time to do your due diligence, taking distractions out of your life. That can help too, because sometimes when we're distracted, when we're busy, when we're overbooked, when we're overextended, those are times when we're vulnerable too. And that's when the narcissistic or toxic individual can come in unchecked, because we're busy, we're distracted, we're not really paying close attention, we're not asking the deep questions, and we're just going with the flow. And then trusting patterns over promises. Looking at patterns of behavior over time is so important. And sometimes when you're in it, you just can't see it. And that's where maybe having safe relationships with people you know, like, and trust, and who will tell you the truth and who will tell you what they think. It could be a therapist. It could be a friend, a trusted family member. It could be a legal professional, like an attorney, if you're going through a custody battle or divorce, somebody from church or from a recovery group. Those are other areas where maybe you can tap into people who can help you to determine if what you're doing or with who you're dealing with is something that's healthy, that's productive, that's going to, be in alignment with your values. Being manipulated does not make you foolish. It's staying unwilling to learn from what has happened to you or who and what you've been dealing with that keeps you stuck. Remember, see the signs, reclaim your mind. Thanks for tuning in, Survivor. Patterns matter. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. If this podcast has helped you understand who and what you're dealing with, sharpen your discernment, and move forward on your healing journey, share it with another survivor. Help me help others by leaving a review for the show. And let's connect on social. Take a screenshot, share it in your IG stories, find and tag me at The Vibrant Survivor, and I'll share your post too. I look forward to connecting with you on IG and seeing you back here. You're not alone, and you're not crazy. Know who you're dealing with, know who you are. Take care, and I'll meet you back here next week. Bye-bye.